So good morning, everyone. I am Stanley. I'm from Singapore, and I work in a small company called Hot E, and this is the same company as the keynote speaker, Buzz Golden. I am engaged in Jago since early this year, and Yugas, maybe a bit of introduction of yourself.
Yeah. Hello everyone, my name is Yogas. I'm from Jakarta, Indonesia. I work in DKatalis, Jago. So it's basically like one group where we have a bank, we have an engineering arm, we have several others. Basically, we work in the fintech space. So currently I'm working as an agile coach in DKatalis, Bank Jago, working with Stanley here. Previously, I was an HR person, and in my previous life, I was actually a network engineer. So it's quite a pivot of career, but yeah. Okay, Stanley.
So how we come to about this talk is that at one point we have been through ups and downs, a roller coaster ride this year. And I thought that when Pong was asking, please come and give a talk, we thought of why not we give a perspective from internal and external. So Yogas is having an internal perspective of his internal staff working in Jago for quite a few years. And I'm external, who just joined quite recently, early this year. So we thought of create a casual, kind of like conversational story about this last journey in Jago. And LeSS stands for those of you who are new to LeSS, it stands for Large Scale Scrum. It is about how do you apply Scrum for multiple teams. And let's go ahead with that. We are going to cover, as we created this set of slides and also explain the journey, we realized that we can take one whole day to talk about this. So we're trying to distill and cut content down to this four, and it is not really enough. We are going to miss out a lot of details, but we are highlighting ones that we thought is important. After the talk, if you want to know more, please feel free to come and look for us. So we'll talk more history and background of Jago itself, that builds up the context that relate to why we start with LeSS in one area, then followed by the executive engagement and also some parting thoughts. That would definitely cover the 45 minutes. History and background.
Okay, thank you, Stanley. Okay, so just a bit of background. We at a company called DKatalis, we're based primarily in Jakarta, Indonesia, Singapore, and Pune, India. During the last 3 years, we've building a digital banking app. So like our stakeholders bought an existing bank, and then we turned it into a digital bank, etc., etc. So, and we are building this. Basically, this is an actual application that are currently working in Indonesia. We've launched back in 2020. And it's actually funny because I was just from the other room, and the talk was about the change organization. Like in 2020, they have like 20 people and then grow into that story is very similar with my organization. We basically only have like 30 people in December 2019, I remember, and currently we have 600. So it's really a rapid growth, etc. And it's basically happened more or less the same. We launched in 2020, and then basically it's a really rapid adoption by people. So we kind of get to a 1 million customer milestone in less than a year, etc. So everybody was working their asses off, and at one point, even our leaders basically stopped and said, "Oh, something is not correct, since we're basically just launched a product and our business ambitions basically is not started yet, and everybody is already like very stressed, burnout, etc." So during the middle of last year, I think it's now during the middle of last year, we started engaging with Audi, and we're looking at how to basically, at the time the question was how to scale agile to multiple teams. at the time. That was the question. So, because we're basically from like this 4 teams, and suddenly we have 18. Currently we're at, I think, 26 cross-functional teams. Yeah. So yeah, that was some of the history around this. And before we engage with OE, there is actually already an existing effort from the leadership and HR, etc., to basically look into the structure, whether we have the appropriate structure to grow sustainably, and etc., right? This was the structure before. This was 2019, 2020, and we arranged ourselves based on cross-functional teams, software engineers, QAs, SETs, and product. And at the time, each team, we call it squads, because of, yeah. and
The hype.
the hype, yes, we are the victim of the hype. So here it is, the squad has all roles that is needed. And it's quite a big team at the time, it's about 12 to 14, and each team has their own product person, and they manage a component or service. We actually call it MS, stands for microservices. So we're really the victims of the hype. Anyway.
More hypes.
Yes. But from my perspective, Stanley, actually, if we haven't introduced to the hype, we wouldn't have met you.
That's a positive thing.
Yes. Yeah, so this is the condition at the time, and each squad has their own backlog, etc., etc. And there is an ongoing effort to basically like looking for what is the better structure to basically deal with all the complexity at scale, etc. And at the time, the organization came up with this. So basically, they want to rearrange some of the teams into an area. They call it clans, obviously. And during that time, then we are introduced to some of the OE, and we are introduced to the concept of LeSS, etc. So during this discussion with consultants, etc., there's in the middle of it, then we're kind of exposed with all these new ideas on how to do agile at scale, or more appropriately, maybe descaling the organization. And then we start looking at what can we do to make it better, actually. But obviously, we cannot stop the whole change effort. So what we did was that we went along with the change, since it's already going like 1 or 2 months. There are all of these interviews, discussions with the leadership, etc. And there are a lot of people that come in. So we went along with that, but we also look into like we talk to many people. We embed ourselves to teams. We listen. We observe. And we decided at the time to start the adoption with one area, namely that one area is not specialized, so focusing on engaging with ecosystem partners. So maybe I explain that a bit. So in Indonesia, maybe I think in Thailand it's the same. You guys have Grab here, right? Gojek is very big in Indonesia. And then there is also some digital ecosystem like Tokopedia, e-commerce, and cryptos and others, right? So basically, this one area is specializing on collaboration, building a synchronized product basically between the Jago application and the ecosystem partners. So we start working with that one area, and this was actually one of the principles in LeSS. We go deep and narrow as opposed to broad and shallow. And yeah, we start adoption by being one area that at the time we think is the most customer-oriented area. So it was about, I think, 36 people, yeah, around 36 people in one area. Yeah, and yeah, then we start experimenting. We start embedding. Stanley start embedding. I start embedding in in the team. We observe and we start with some trainings. And Stanley, you wanna take this?
Yeah, sure. Thank you. So what happened here is that why would the organization or the Jago wants to try less or try large scale Scrum? Part of the reason is because we've been to many companies that has a recurring problem. Whenever you structure in a certain way, you'll get certain challenges. And this is quite repeatable. If it is repeatable and there's a pattern to it, it means that there can be intervention to break the cycle. I'm going to explain a little bit of theory of LeSS over here, and also less of LeSS, but rather the thinking tools behind. So that you have a peek on how do we see beneath the petals. So, before we go that, I want to highlight a few things about LeSS framework. This is not a full introduction. I'm just going to state what are the main key differences between LeSS and also Scrum. My assumption is that most of you know Scrum in some ways. What is special about LeSS is that when you have multiple teams, so in this parallelized, these are teams, they are feature teams, they are cross-functional, like what Scrum is saying. The product owner, there's only one product owner for multiple teams. It is very, very important. It also has only one product backlog that all the teams share. It has one sprint planning. It's multi-team sprint planning, meaning that all the teams come together to understand what is the topmost priority items in the product backlog. All team members. There's also this product backlog refinement, which also consists of all team members. To clarify, to understand the requirements. Coordination work is not by coordinators or tech leads or seniors, but is by the team members themselves. They are supposed to reach out to other team members directly. There is also a sprint review, which is a shared multi-team event where everyone comes together for the sprint review. Okay? And finally, one potentially shippable product increment. What that means is that at the end of the sprint, the working software is integrated. Okay? It's not my team is integrated already, our part is done. Another team B says, no, our part is done. No, that's not the case. But all the parts are integrated and tested. At least that's the ideal direction that we want to work towards too. So these are the few key parts that is I want to highlight for LeSS framework. And one of the key reasons that we can consider sell, or rather the management finds importance in adopting LeSS, are these few objectives. Working towards, which is why it's called journey, to achieve adaptiveness in the service of learning and delivering highest level value. What that means is that if we have what the team delivers, it is important to make sure that we are delivering highest value from an organization point of view, from a whole product point of view. In this case, it is Jago app. Actually, not just the mobile app itself. There are other applications that comes with it, like applications for merchants, applications for other parties as well, or even partnership. So that is a whole product. And we want to, from a CEO point of view, he doesn't really care that whether the mobile app or only looking at the mobile app focus or merchant applications focus, but he's looking at overall. At any point in time to know what is important for the organization. Should we invest more in mobile app? Should we invest more in tackling the issues from the regulators? So to be able to prioritize according to highest value is very important. This is what we meant by that. And we cannot achieve that without a single product backlog. If we have multiple product backlogs, everyone have local narrow view. So that's the first point. Second point is self-management. Later I will describe what is the issues or problems with before we transit the teams, before they transit to LeSS. Self-management is about, you can consider in simple words, being proactive. Every team member to be initiative to actually take responsibility of their process and also their progress as well. Okay? In the past, normally, someone else, maybe the team lead or maybe the business or project manager, will often try to track your progress. Are you done? Where are you now? No. If we keep that structure, we will create even more bottlenecks in our system. We want to invert that, having people to take the initiative to manage that. I will describe more about that. And also to continuously improve the capability. What I mean by capability can be expressed in this small picture here. So consider this, R1 is requirements 1 to 20. Every sprint, every iteration, in a large organization like Jago or DKatalis, often you have some things that's left undone at the end of the sprint because performance test is done by some other teams. We don't have the capability. Or maybe some approval that needs to be by the regulators, by someone outside the organization. You can't deliver to the production until that is done. Those are called undone work. Can you imagine that if every sprint you have more and more undone work, you cannot respond to change, because when the product owner says, good, I want to ship now, no, cannot. Because there's still undone work yet to be done, right? So when we mean improve capability is to mean that we improve towards getting more than undone into the sprints. Means that instead of other teams do performance testing, we inside the team have the capability to do that. Instead of getting approval from somewhere else, we work with the regulators such that the approval can be lessened or minimized. This is improving capability. Instead of manual testing, automated testing. So this is what we meant by continuous improving the capability. And this is a journey. And so these are the few objectives that we sell. And also the management sees very important, and that's what they want to have in the organization. So let's talk a little bit. I'm going to illustrate what is the thinking behind in approaching towards LeSS. And we look at it by problem solving. What is the problem? What are the issues that we have? This is pre-flip, meaning that before a transit to LeSS, the structure is that each squad have their own product backlog. Each squad have their own product owner. There's also a tech lead. Okay? Each squad also owns certain technical components or microservices. Okay? That is the situation in partnership. Let's use the systems thinking iceberg as a tool to evaluate, to assess what is happening. We take a common situation, that time tactic. What is happening in the events? So we have this iceberg. Maybe let me introduce this iceberg first. Is that iceberg, at the surface you can see the eyes on top, but it's not easy to see what is happening beneath. And system thinking iceberg tells us that what is on the surface is what we observable are the events. And events that happens recurring are called trends and patterns. If there's a pattern to it, there must be some system structure, some rules in place or way of working in place that is influencing the patterns to what we observe. These structures or rules in place are influenced by the mental models, our belief system, our assumptions in how things work. So therefore, we are getting deeper and deeper to this. We need to understand this in order to solve problems. Take an example. Tech lead is very busy with other team members who are waiting to be told, while other team members are waiting to be told what to do. That's one of the common situations. Because it happens so frequently, tech lead becomes the bottleneck and is heavily dependent on him or her to do production fixes, to come up with solutions. And what is influencing the patterns is that the product owner and the team members always look for tech lead to get solutions. The tasks are also assigned by the tech lead as well. Okay? Tech lead, they have a squad of about 12 to 14 members. The tech lead is the one that often break down the solution, the problem into smaller pieces, into solutions, and then assign the task to individual members. Which is why, people, imagine you are the other members, you just wait to be told what to do, right? And that is heavily relying on the tech lead. What are the beliefs that keep the systems in place? At different levels, the tech lead role should be responsible for solving problems and also manage people. Someone has to be accountable. Otherwise things will fall apart. Doesn't it? So, what's with LeSS is that it brings concept of multi-team sprint events and also a concept of self-managing teams is trying to intervene at the system structures and also the mental model. If you want to do intervention in your organizational system, very common I see people try to tackle at the events level. They see that, tech is very busy with other members. The other members doesn't seem to be proactive. How do they intervene? Typically, tell them, speak up more, do more, be more proactive. Okay? You can intervene at this, but as long as this is not being tackled, you will get the same situation. So therefore, we need to intervene beneath the iceberg. So what we see in the systems thinking iceberg is only one of the many underlying problems with the structures. Other underlying structures which is challenging, which causes problems are like the team ownership of technical components. If you, in your organization, some teams own certain components, meaning that only they can change. Okay? I can tell a list of challenges that you probably have. It's predictable. If you have a team PO, you will have common problems, and team product as well. So these underlying structures will lead to narrow understanding of customer problem. Well, as a team member, when you just work to the task, being ordered what to do, do you understand what problem are you trying to solve? Probably not. Dependency surprises during the sprints and integrate at the end, you often face that, and also teams waiting for other teams because you have different backlogs. Customer-related features don't care what technical components you are going to change. And very often, customer-related features cut across all components or various components. So when it comes to here, some people will try to, maybe the PO or someone will try to break down the problem into technical parts, but they cannot foresee what is needed. And then they cannot foresee, and often they have their own priorities. It doesn't get in sync in the same sprints, which is why teams are waiting for each other. You see that? Okay, so in the preparation for the flip to LeSS, we are intervening at the system structure belief and the beliefs, the mental model part. We need really good preparation. Getting people to understand what is the change about, what is the direction we're going to, will increase the chance of change to be supported by most people. So these are a few things that we did. In DKatalis or Jago, there is remote working for it's a hybrid working. Most of the people are working remotely. We can't, unless we often encourage people to come together in person, we can't do that anymore. So at that time, we experiment quite a lot with online tools. We started with something called spatial chat, and then later on we moved to DKatalis, which is much better. We use a Miro for online whiteboarding. For whiteboarding on the teams and task boards. We give training, few days training to all the team members, as many people as possible within the area. Includes Scrum and LeSS overview. So we teach what is self-managing. We say what is the expected behavior we're expecting out of this transition. And for sure people will be worried, there will be concerns. We have small group follow-up conversations with them about what we think about that. We deliberately set up a small group discussions, and also sincerely asking people about how do they feel, what is their worry, and also how do they deal with their there is going to be change in team members and how they experience that and they foresee that. So really going through at a human level, knowing that the change will not be easy for them. And what we hope is that we can be with them on this journey. So we have a lot of discussion about one product owner, because at that time there was PO per team, product owner per team. What will happen to the other people? Does it mean that they will go?
They still have their job, by the way.
and we also still recognize that it is important to have one person to make the decision. So at the end, what happened with partnership is that one person is the area product owner, key person who make the prioritization. The other people are assisting him out, contributing to the backlog and also advising on the priority as well. This is something more technical. Some technical practices that helps to reduce the complexity as more teams are integrating together. And also architectural map workshop for all the teams so that everyone understands what is the big picture of the architecture of the whole ecosystem. Which parts they are can change now, and which parts they would need to change in the future. Which are the teams in other areas that they need to influence. So all of this is an education and also setting the stage for the flip. When we say the flip, means the transition.
Thank you. Maybe I'll just back it up here a bit. So speaking from an internal point of view, because I was observing Stanley while he's doing all the trainings, the follow-up conversations, etc. What strikes me the most, because I also come from a HR background, I previously for 3 years I'm focusing on learning development, organizational design, etc. etc. It's that everything that we did was basically the decision is up to the people. So never at any time someone from management or from HR or from the coaches comes and say this is what you should do. Right? Even when we have discussion on the one product owner, we come to them and basically say, hey, so now you are there is at the time three teams or three POs. We basically ask them, what do you want to do? Because we really believe, irrespective of the role, the knowledge and the skills that each of this person have is really consequential for the workings of the partnership area. So whatever role that they choose for them, it's definitely gonna be valuable. So then one person step up, become the area product owner, and the other basically supporting him But supporting here doesn't mean that, oh, I will support you or something. They're actually more busy because if you're a product in our partnership area, you're liaising with the team, and you have all the business people to talk to, and also the partners. We have like multiple ecosystem partners. There's a lot of complexity from the business side that needs to be work out. And the model is actually quite new, so there is no really a blueprint of how a bank should approach this. So because we basically want to embed our service in other people's app and vice versa. We want to embed their service in our app. So there are a lot of complexity around that, and they decided that okay, this is how we want to arrange ourselves. And also with the team, it's the same. Like one of the aha moment that I got during this journey was that all the training that we did was not really training. It's basically a safe space that we created for people to air their concerns. It's basically a place where you can, okay, I don't understand what all this self-management means. I don't understand what this large sales scrum means. Okay, then let's talk about that. And from my experience, like people with questions, not necessarily want answers. Like most of them just want to be heard, basically. So yeah, I really see the usefulness of like having the sessions, like really being there with the team. I think we did this for like 2 months, more than 2 months, I think, before we actually come to a decision to do the self-designing workshop, to do the flip. And the decision itself, we leave to the representative of the team. So at the time, there are the tech leads, the senior engineers, the products. We're basically like, okay, with all that we have done, is it okay that we continue with this? And they say, okay, then let's do it. So all the process, all the decision making, everything is rooted based on self-management, basically. Okay, so then this is the day of the flip, and at the time it was during the pandemic, so everybody was in their home, and we use Miro. As you can see, we currently also use Miro. So I personally really like this tool. We use Miro and spatial chat at the time. So this is just to illustrate what happens during that one day. So we start with a team farewell because people at the time was in their previous team, and we have sessions in which okay, everyone, anybody wants to say appreciation to your teammates, to the team themselves, to whoever, and then we really make time to basically people to say goodbye, say appreciation to their previous team. So I think that's also good for like, I think we as humans need that kind of boundary to basically like, okay, this is saying goodbye to the old and embracing the new kind of thing. So this is actually the team themselves put this. It's not us. You can see there's me there. Yeah. So this is a discussion in one of the team. Basically, people say thank you, appreciation, etc. And then after that, we go to a self-design workshop. This is in Miro. So we have a previous discussion with the representative of the team to basically come up with the criteria for the team to design themselves. Right? So these are some of the criteria, like each team only can be about 6 people, because at the time the team was 12 to 14, so it's quite a big team. And each team has all the function that they need, that they needed to deliver incremental value, and also the balance on senior or junior. Yeah, I remember. So these are some of the conditions. I don't put all the conditions here, but even this condition comes from discussions with the team themselves. Right? So basically what we did was, okay guys, based on these conditions, arrange yourself, like pick your team members, things like that. And then they arrange themselves in this fashion. Okay. Yeah, and these are the next exercise. This is facilitated by Stanley. So this the new team that the team picked for themselves and they name themselves. And this is an exercise about working mode. Yeah, something.
This exercise is about with a few new team members, they may not be familiar with each other. So it's a little bit of showing a bit of your personality, your preferences, so that other people know a bit more about you. And then through that exercise, getting them to create their team name, to create a team identity. So that's the part.
Yeah. So maybe just one, because I think the trend of basically naming your team with cool sounding names is a bit of, I think it has been going on for some years now. But I think what I really like about this approach is that it's not about picking the names themselves, but this is just like one activity among like all the preparations that we did, everything. It's really based on the self-managed principles. Actually, even 2 months back, when we flip another area, they decide they don't want to part with their team. So it's not always the team rearranged to something totally new. In another area that I work with, 2 months ago, they decided they would still like to be with their current team, but then okay, then we ask, but do you want to have a new name? So we have like all this elaborate exercise where they can pick their own names, and this is offline. This one is offline because we can already go back to the office, etc. And the team choose to do that offline. This is a different area than partnership, and we have this basically like, oh, pick, write your team name on a paper and make a box and your role, software engineer, in a box, and then we something like that. But it's fun. Yeah, so that was the exercise, and like even this is the names of the Scrum Masters, the Agile coach that we have. So far, it's still very, very little. We need more people, by the way. Yeah, it did. And yeah, we even asked the team, who would you like to work with? Okay. Okay, then definition of exercise and impression to close the day, etc. Okay. Post slip, Stanley?
Yeah. So, a brief description about after 3 sprints, after the flip. This is the results picture, that's what you see here. You have only one product backlog, and then there are 6 teams here which pull the items from the backlog, product backlog. And each of these teams, because we reshuffle the teams design their own teams themselves, it has this effect that within one team, they have people who knows how to change in multiple components, having technical components. So that increased their capability actually in delivering customer features. We also have this person here, is called Principal Engineer, stands for PE. So PE is one of the much more senior engineers whose role is really mainly coaching and also teaching people on the technical practices, dealing with issues, and so on. We have one product owner here. So the result of that is that after 3 sprints, there are much more collaboration, cross collaboration between teams. Many team members found we have quite a lot of one-on-one interviews. They find that they need to talk more. And also there are people who realize that they are afraid to talk in a larger group. Okay? So that is another point that we could intervene to help support individuals better. And also the product owner area product owner found to be less busy with checking the teams, are they done? Less busy with tracking the technical details these technical details done, or coming up with solutions for that, they could spend more time with the customer in practice. So this is a kind of like a very short preview of what happens in the flip in transition. And after partnership flip, we have further discussion or kind of engagement with the management, the leadership team. Yeah.
So just very quickly, so basically, the good news spreads about partnership, and then basically the momentum starts going, and we have several discussions with the management. We actually have one-day immersion workshop of Agile with all the executive team. So this was really good. And they also recognize the importance of basically dealing with the systemic aspect of the change, rather than just, okay, we have a change program and then the squad should be like this, the team should be like that, the client should be like that. So they started to understand that there are this is a journey, and there are systemic things that they as management can really help. So that the discussion is ongoing. So so far, yeah, this is what it looks like now. So this is the requirement area that we have in Jago, and as you can see, we have one product owner. It's fully supported by management currently, and we arrange ourselves in this different requirement area. Yeah, and actually in this area, several of the ops team are working here as part of the team. So what else? Yeah, I think Sandy.
So some parting thoughts. The present status is that the last few months we have flipped 3 more areas. Probably
another one is coming up.
Yeah. We realize that the internal coaches are running thin. We need to hire more in order to support. So we come
to very subtle, Sandy.
Yeah.
Very subtle.
Helping you there. So we come to a situation where we flip an area, but there is no coach there to support. What happened? How?
Actually, not just flip. There is a demand actually from the area to flip, but then we don't have coach.
Yes, the product owner, the area product owner there is very enthusiastic because they are suffering from the previous structure. They know that this can be much better. What happened is that we got the principal engineers to step in and act as an agile coach, take some of the responsibilities in leading the teams on the sprints, multi-team events. There are a lot of areas for improvement. One of the things is supporting an area also means teaching the teams what does self-managing means. Because it doesn't work by just telling the team, be self-managed. Okay, I work on. It doesn't work like that. They are not used to how to manage their own progress because they are so used to someone asking them, when are you? What are you going to do? In order to invert this, that they will ask this themselves, and if their progress is not well, they would then report up to the stakeholders or the product owner. It's a very new thing for most teams. So therefore, this requires time. For me, when I join one area, I would work with multiple teams to help them to teach them with that. So apart from that, other enable factors are the mid-level cross-functional informal group, which consists of the principal engineers, coaches.
Principal engineers, coaches, the POs. So this group kind of naturally appear since people have some concerns or they want to basically work better, do things better, and it's naturally progressing that suddenly we have this informal group that discusses and move the change forward. Yep.
And one of the key parts that now, since after the change, is that we will need to focus more on technical development practices. Organization agility is constrained by our technical agility.
Okay, I think the time is up. Just a bit message from me here. So yes, because we're primarily in Jakarta, Singapore, and Pune, India, but we're currently open to looking at more talents from other areas because we're primarily a remote company anyway. Thank you. Thank you very much. Sorry, can I just show one last thing?
Yes.
The video, sir. So just oh yeah, this is Gather Town. This is actually during one of our feature release. So basically everyone was in this room in Gather Town, and that day was actually the birthday of our PO. So so after we released to production, okay, should I? One of the principal engineer name is Boon. It's like, okay, should I open the feature flag now? Okay, let's go. Bang, and then people testing, and then, oh, it's Nick's birthday. Okay, happy. I think one thing, the most important thing that people somehow misses is that I personally think this way of working is simply more fun.
So don't forget. Make
Don't
it
forget
as
fun.
well.
Fun is
Yeah.
very important.
Thanks for sharing that. That's actually good. I have a lot of questions actually, but I'm gonna pick the most important one. I think I want to ask. When you have multiple teams like that, how do you control the speed of the team? Because when you have multiple teams, do you control each team to have the own unit of the speed that they have, or like just have each team have their own speed unit that they have?
Yeah. We don't. First is we do not control the Scrum. We do not control the team speed.
Let's say the unit of the estimation that each team will be doing. Are you trying to let each team have the same scale of the estimation, or each team have their own scale of
The
estimation?
skills.
Yeah.
The skills are they would use relative estimation for the product backlog. So therefore, the scale is normalized across the teams.
That means the one product backlog, each team will trying to estimate on the same scale. So either each team pick any work to do, they will have the speed based on the main product backlog. Right?
The
Can
speed
I-
that is-
Can I just give a perspective on that? Because previously that's what we did as an organization. We want to force. We actually put a confluence page, like this is what 3 means, this is what 5 means. It doesn't work. I think one thing that people forgot is that estimation is actually about the spread of knowledge. So obviously, at the start, it will not be similar. But I think the most important thing, rather than focusing on how it can be similar, is basically just do more estimation together, cross teams, etc. So we can build a common view of the knowledge that the teams are working on, and over a period of time, it will normalize.
One more. Okay, so another. And when you change from the specific area to be one big product backlog, that means one team can do some work, and the bug that they cause from the team need to be solved by another team in the future. Right? And where is the ownership of that? I mean,
I'm not sure of your question.
if you have the one product backlog and each team pull the work differently, and you are not specific in the area that they are picking the work from, right? One day the team can, let's say, implement the feature A from that, and next month from now, the feature that one team is doing cause some bugs happen on the system, and other team do need to solve that. And how you solve the ownership of that?
There's one principle in LeSS is collective code ownership, meaning that no one owns their code. What it means is that there's no your code or my code, this team's code or other team's code. So they are all responsible for keeping the functionalities work. And it is okay for in this sprint your team work on this feature. The next sprint maybe another team will be adding more on top of this feature. That is okay. That's encouraged.
I think on that, the talk with Bas later will touch upon that a bit, like maximizing dependency.
Yes. You can take a watch on that.
Hi. So, what was the mental health impact on the team during this whole transition? Because I can imagine it was stressful and a lot of changes, and that often has a negative impact on development.
The impact is actually better. So I don't know whether this can. So I think there are several things here. Previously, like very practical things. Previously, we used Google Meet, so people were staring screens all the time. That obviously has an impact, right? Like when we shift to a more engaging way, like using spatial chat or Gather Town, or basically have all discussions in Miro, people are more engaged, and that actually have a positive impact, because and also maybe just a bit of data. I don't know whether this is related with the mental health or not, but I actually did a bit of calculation from the data from HR. I calculated the attrition rate during the period of the flip and some months after that. At the time, the whole organization attrition rate is 15-16%, and that is in line with the industry in the Indonesia. I think in NC it's about 17-18% at the time. In partnership area, it's actually 7%. So people are more engaged, and I assume when people are more engaged, it's actually healthier.
I recall one of the team members I had one-on-one with. He was saying that previously he had to wait. He has a lot of waiting for the tech lead to act on something. He don't usually. It's not a norm to communicate directly to another person in another team. He has to go through this hierarchy. And now he feels that he has a lot more. There's more freedom in reaching out to anyone to solve problems. So that's another point of view. We also get other data like it is quite overwhelming because we have learned many things. At least they have this perception. They need to learn everything, and this is the reason why, as you let them through the journey, take notice of this perception, because this perception could be some misunderstanding that we need to learn everything. No one can learn everything. We could learn how do we want to focus on the things that matters to us. And it's okay to let other people support you. That's something that a personal growth part that we could learn.
Yeah, I think that's one important thing. It's basically normalizing asking for help. That's one quite big topic in our organization. And basically after that we keep enforcing the message, like ask for help, like don't suffer alone, something like that. So I think that also helps with people, especially like if you're in a remote settings, and it's very different, right? If it's offline, you can basically just, hey, let's go grab a coffee. Right? So we're basically doing everything we can to, as much as possible, mimic the interaction offline. So yeah, it's not just basically, if it's a Zoom or Google Meet, it's basically you only have not even face. You only look at initials and listen to people's voices. What we want is also it's not going through the binary of whether online is bad, offline is better, etc. It's more like looking for ways to, as much as possible, mimic the interaction. So at the end of the day, we're all human. So I think it's very important to have that.
I saw that you have a lot of self-managed team, right, in one business domain. I would like to know that you can share about how you can control the standard on the highly regulated environment, like a digital bank that you are working on. For example, the securities, the coding standard.
Oh, that's a big topic.
Maybe I cover the coding standard part.
Yeah.
The coding standard actually, they are coding standard actually means a lot of different things. If it is more like the coding style itself, that itself could be decided by the mirror, by the teams themselves. So we see that the principal engineers facilitate that, to get people to get an agreement on what is the coding standard style. In terms of security-wise, I believe, let's see. Security, I think there are some security testing, and also there are some works in terms of educating the teams about security. So I believe there are some trainings getting people to be more aware of that.
Yes, it's coming. So in terms of like security, we have our basically cybersecurity team, and we work in tandem. Basically, the team work in tandem with them to look at things as early as possible. Like, and in terms of like compliance, regulation, it's still a challenge, but I would say that there are some strides that we made. We're basically working on involving the compliance and audit people as early as possible, because I actually was in one of the discussions with them, and it's also very frustrating for them to know things in the end. So like we try to basically invite them to more discussions early on and take their feedback on like from the audit perspective. So basically treat them as a subject matter expert, and having them in some of the requirement discussions early on, things like that. And we also want to move towards a more. This is still very early, but we are looking at some practices like specification by examples, like how to basically have specifications that can be automated. And then have that discussion, the same discussion, also not just with the product development, but also from compliance, business, audit. But this is still very early.
Okay, thank you very much for the session, Stanley and Jago.